The ancient island of Madagascar lay wrapped in a heavy stillness, its skies painted with streaks of burning gold as the sun descended beyond the horizon. Once, this land had thrived with rivers, forests, and herds of colossal creatures that roamed freely under the tropical sun. But now, time had taken its toll. The air was dry, the soil cracked, and the once mighty rivers had thinned to muddy threads that struggled to reach the sea. The jungle still whispered with life, but its tone was faint, the fading heartbeat of a world in decline. Through the veil of this silence moved the undisputed ruler of this land, Majungasaurus, the last tyrant of Madagascar. His heavy steps pressed deep into the soft earth, echoing through the dying forest like the heartbeat of the island itself. His hide was dark and rough, glistening faintly beneath the low sunlight, while the single horn above his eyes cast a sharp, almost regal silhouette across his snout. His amber eyes gleamed with intelligence, not human, but ancient, primal, and full of awareness. He was not evil, nor cruel. He was balance, a predator shaped by millennia of struggle, perfected by nature to keep the wilds in harmony. Every movement, every breath he took, was guided by instinct honed through generations. The forest feared him, yet it needed him. His presence kept the rhythm of life in order. Hunter and hunted, strength and survival, life and decay. Majungasaurus paused near the edge of a dried riverbed. The faint scent of prey drifted through the air, faint but clear. His nostrils flared as he tasted it, head tilting slightly to listen. Somewhere in the distance, branches cracked, his eyes narrowed, the silence broke. It was time to hunt. The night descended upon Madagascar like a thick, silver curtain. The moon rose high, bathing the jungle in pale light that shimmered on the leaves like liquid glass. A soft mist crept between the trees, twisting and curling like ghosts in the dark. Majungasaurus moved through the undergrowth with surprising stealth for a creature of his size. His tail swayed gently behind him, balancing each careful step. His breathing was slow, steady, the rhythm of a predator in complete control of its body. His eyes glowed faintly, golden reflections of the moon that watched every flicker of movement in the shadows ahead. Near the edge of a cracked lakebed stood a herd of Repetosaurus, giant long-necked herbivores who towered above the trees. They moved slowly, unaware of the silent death that crept toward them. The jungle was thick with the sound of insects and the rustle of leaves. But Majungasaurus heard only one thing: the beating of prey hearts. He circled them from downwind, the scent of their warm bodies guiding him. A young Repetosaurus had strayed from the herd, distracted by the small patches of greenery near the edge. It was larger than Majungasaurus, but inexperienced, a mistake that would cost it dearly. Majungasaurus crouched low, muscles rippling beneath his skin. His claws dug into the dirt for traction. For a moment, everything was still. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. Then he struck. With a burst of pure power, he exploded from the shadows, the forest erupting in chaos. The air filled with the trumpeting cries of the herd as they stampeded away, but the young one was too slow. Majungasaurus lunged, jaws clamping onto its leg. The sound of impact echoed like thunder through the trees. The tyrant used his full weight, dragging the prey down as dust rose into the moonlight. When the struggle ended, silence returned once more, except for the calm, rhythmic breathing of the king as he claimed his reward beneath the fading moon. Days passed. The island's heat grew more oppressive, and the jungle's tension thickened. Majungasaurus wandered near the stone ridges where he had made his territory long ago. The air here smelled familiar, marked by his presence, his scent, his dominance. But today, something was wrong. The air carried another scent, similar to his own but younger, fresher, and bold. He froze. The jungle held its breath once again. From behind the ridges, another Majungasaurus emerged. Slightly smaller, its scales gleaming with the sheen of youth, but its eyes burned with challenge. It was another male, a rival, the kind that nature destined to test kingship. They faced each other across the clearing, tails raised, teeth bared, growls rumbling through the ground like tremors. There was no hatred, only the ancient call of nature. Two titans, born to rule, fated to clash. The first step came from the younger one, a low hiss, then a bellowing roar that shook the trees. Majungasaurus responded with a roar, deeper, louder, a sound that split the silence and sent birds fleeing into the sky. They began to circle each other, slow and deliberate, muscles tense, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And then they collided. The ground shook beneath their weight. Dust and leaves swirled in the air as they slammed against each other with unstoppable force. Horns clashed, claws raked, tails swung like whips. The sound of their struggle echoed across the forest like thunder. For minutes, they fought. Strength versus speed, wisdom versus fury. At last, Majungasaurus found his opening. With a sudden twist, he forced his rival to the ground, pinning him. The younger one struggled, roaring in defiance, but the king only released a deafening cry of dominance. He did not finish him. Nature did not need cruelty. Instead, he watched his challenger limp away into the jungle shadows, defeated but alive. The throne was his once more. The skies darkened. Heavy clouds gathered like smoke, swallowing the sunlight. The air turned heavy, charged with electricity. A storm was coming. Majungasaurus stood on a cliff overlooking the jungle. Lightning forked across the heavens, illuminating the land below. The wind howled through the trees, bending them like reeds. Then came the first rumble, deep, distant, and endless. From the far mountains, an orange glow began to rise. The volcanoes were awakening. The earth trembled beneath him, cracks splitting the ground. The forest began to burn, flames licking the sky as rain fell in bursts. Through the chaos, Majungasaurus moved, not in fear, but in instinct. Fire and thunder were no enemies to him. They were nature's will, just as he was. As lightning flashed across his scales, his eyes glowed like molten gold. His roar rose above the storm, the cry of defiance from a creature who had ruled through ages of destruction. He was not running. He was reminding the world that even as fire consumed the earth, the spirit of survival never bowed. The storm finally passed. Madagascar lay in ruins, trees reduced to ash, rivers to smoke. The once loud jungle now whispered only with the wind. From the blackened mist emerged Majungasaurus, his scales marked with burns, his horn chipped, his body scarred. Yet his eyes still burned with life. He walked slowly through the wasteland, each step heavy with exhaustion, but filled with purpose. As the sun rose, the light spread over him, turning the scars on his skin into symbols of endurance. He paused near a shallow stream that had survived the fire. Looking at his reflection, he saw not just a predator, but the last witness of an era ending. The earth would change, his kind would fade, but his story would remain etched in stone. As he lifted his head toward the dawn,